Hello, everyone. My name is Selvi Alabaranova. I'm the social media head here at GMAT Club, and I'm here to welcome you to our MBA application walkthrough series, which is a 6-week series covering applications for top 25 MBA programs. The walkthroughs will continue every Thursday and Friday until September 15th, and we will feature admissions experts and admissions teams going step by step through every aspect of the online application. Before we begin, guys, do subscribe to our channel if you have not already, and stay updated and support us in organizing more events. Also, don't forget to smash that like button down below. Thank you very much. I will be your host, and in today's walkthrough, we are covering ISB admission. Together with me is Ketan Tiwari, who is the Senior Admissions Manager at ISB Admissions and also the Regional Manager in the North. Welcome, Ketan. It is really great to have you here.
Thank you, Selby, for this wonderful introduction. Pleasure to be here and eager to talk to candidates.
For sure. All right, I guess we can already start with the questions. Also, guys, feel free to ask whatever you want in the live chat on the side or below or whatever suits you guys. And yeah, my first question here would be, Ketan, what's your advice for applicants who are just starting out with their applications versus folks who are halfway or more through?
Okay, so the advice is going to be overlapping for both of them, but a few genuine advice for people who are just starting is, first of all, be genuine in your application. Please do not write anything which you have not done. Do not write it just for the sake of standing out. That doesn't help because it actually boomerangs back to you as a question in the interview. So that's one thing. Secondly, it's a holistic profile-based evaluation. So do not be in a very plaintive mood if you have not got an outlandish score, be it academics or your test score. So everything in your application matters, be it your work experience, essays that you write, awards and achievements. So it's a holistic profile-based evaluation. Everything will be able to give you some marks when you fill the application. And the third one, it's all about storytelling. The way you tell it is very important. You might be the best candidate in the world, but if it is not getting enunciated in the same way in your application and eventually in the interviews, then of course you are not doing justice to your application. For the ones who are halfway through, please revise it. I'm sure you must be halfway through your essays also. So just give it a final go. You still have around 15 days to go. And some of them might have booked their GMAT or GRE schedules or tests in the last 1 week or so. Best of luck for that.
Awesome. All right. I'll jump right to the next question. Guys, if you do, feel free to ask your questions again in the comment section below. Thank you. All right. My second question here would be, what are the top 3 green flags and red flags in an application?
Mm-hmm. So, as I said, if you are a working professional, please go ahead and discuss any kind of initiatives at the workplace, any kind of projects that you've undertaken, apart from the conventional work that you have been doing, any kind of extracurriculars which you think add to the strength of your application. Please go on and mention them and write an essay. Probably we'll have a question on the essay later, but the essays also play a major role. So take care of all those 3 essays, 2 mandatory and 1, I think, optional essay that we have this year. But the optional essay speaks about the short-term and long-term goals. So I'm not sure how many of them will be keeping it optional. I'm sure everybody's going to write it. The red flags are very straight. First of all, as I said, do not make up a story on your own. Simply start early. Do not start, if the deadline is 10, do not start on 5th. You will absolutely screw your application. And the third thing is, do not care about the hearsays and gossips that you need to be absolutely a 750 scorer to be making it to ISB. That is not the case. Being a part of the admissions team, I can tell you and vouch for this fact that there are many students in the class with a score of between 610, 780, 610 to 780 is the range. I myself know a lot of people with a 660, 640 in the class, whereas I'm also amongst the 2 people who can give you feedback for your application last year, and I've given ample feedbacks for people who couldn't make it with 760, right? So that is the kind of stuff that you need to keep in mind and proceed with your application.
Awesome. All right. My third question here would be, should applicants try to stand out more, in your opinion, or blend in?
I think it has to be a very good mixture of both. Just for the sake of standing out, do not mention things which do not get inoculated in your system very naturally. But if there are things which you have done which make your application diverse, please go on and mention that. People often ask me, what is diverse? Diversity, guys, is not something that you have represented your organization at an international level, or let's say you had 10 promotions in 5 years. That is not diversity. It's also not diversity, and it's not necessary to be an international class performer of some sort of gadget and all together. Diversity is, what is that diverse thing which you bring into the class? We are looking at the kind of skills that you're getting into the class for the cohort. Please highlight that. Just to give you an example, there were people who just mentioned in the application that they had a music band before they wanted to come to ISB. And in the application, they were asked to sing. And they said that they were not singers, they were guitarists, and they were given guitars to play. So you have to be very sure of what you mention in the application. Do not just mention it just because you are a dilettante, just because you have scratched the surface of something. Please mention only the things which you have done and you are confident about. And that's a very important good way of maneuvering your interview also. Let's say if you mention the same thing thrice in your application with aplomb, as a part of the admissions team, let's say, will be more than enticed to ask you questions on that. So you can play around with your interview by doing that in your application.
Interesting. Talking about diversity, someone also asked, does the diversity in terms of nationality affect the application?
It can, definitely. Depends upon the kind of work that you have done and the kind of experience, as I said, that you bring into the class. One guy in the class this year is at the score of 530. That is the lowest that we have in the class. That's an international diversity student. So definitely it matters. But there are many who apply with that kind of a score and do not get selected. So it's also about how you portray your profile and what you actually get into the class and how you mention it.
Oh, interesting. All right. Let's jump right into the next question. Do you recommend applying in round one, or do you recommend waiting to make substantial improvements? Do you think is there a clear win to apply early?
Look, guys, there are a lot of hearsays and gossips about applying early, round one, round two, round three. But I would always say that you apply when your application is the strongest. So it's only the good applications, good profiles that are going to go through. The only advantage that you get applying in round one or two is that by the time you get your offer, you have sufficient time to, play out your notice period if you are a working professional. The only caveat, kind of a trouble which people might have in round three is that by the time they get their offer letters, it may be the first week of March for a batch which is starting in the first week of April. So if that is not a problem, the rest of the process remains the same. So you don't apply just for the heck of it in round one. In fact, more people get rejected in round one because more people think that they should apply in round one, right? Yeah. Last year, I can say with authority that we had similar number of applications in round 1, 2, and 3. So you apply when you think your application is the strongest.
Makes sense. Alrighty. And one more question here. What are you looking for from essays, and what are you also not looking for as well?
Okay. So, there are a few things which the admissions team and the process team is looking for when somebody is writing their essay. For example, some questions and some answers are very ubiquitous, like why would somebody like to come and do a PGP program from ISB? Now, any top B schools in the world, they are going to ask questions like these. Sounds like a very benign question, but it has many layers when you actually start answering it. So prepare for it well. The second thing is, why would you think that ISB or PGP is going to bring about that transmutation that you're looking for in your professional endeavors and your future goals? Thirdly, what are your short-term and long-term goals, and how does ISB and PGP help you in accomplishing those goals? Again, as I said, what are you getting into the class? There is a specific question about your strengths and weaknesses. That's what we are trying to decipher. And the kind of sector that you want to work post ISB. What are the transferable skills that you have which can be put to best of use in that particular sector of your choice? So overall, we are trying to just fathom out the clarity of thought. What is that thing that you want to extract out of the program? So keep these things in mind and blend your essay and your answers, keeping these things in mind. What is a bad essay? Of course, you don't need, you don't need to go for technical jargon too much, because in order to impress, you might upset the admissions team or particularly the interview committee, who may not be as technical or from your sector. Similarly, as I said, you do not mention things which you have not done, right? And we do not use, we don't want you to be a Shakespeare in English. So it can be a very colloquial language which explains your thought process just for the
Yeah.
sake of being pretentious. Do not use words you are not comfortable with.
Makes a lot of sense. Alrighty. Okay, I'll jump right into the live questions. Guys, again, feel free to ask them in the comment section, and I'll start with some of the first ones right here. So someone here asked, does ISB also re-evaluate re-applicants holistically, or are just deltas considered?
So the application evaluation process, even for the re-applicants, remains the same. In fact, in their application, when they fill the application, they have to submit a re-applicant essay. That also gives them an opportunity to explain as to how their application this time is better vis-a-vis how it was last time, right? So other things remain the same. They do not need to be petrified that last time they wrote something else in their short-term and long-term goals, and this time it might change and it might be something which is detrimental to their application. It doesn't happen like that at all. So don't worry about that.
Gotcha. Alrighty. Okay, next question. Someone here said, hi, I'm Abhinav, joining from Kolkata, planning for round 2, started brainstorming ideas for essays and seeking LORs. We sort of asked our audience, to talk about themselves a little, so I'm just putting it up here.
Yeah.
Alrighty, but a question here. What were the issues in the applicant's profile who scored 760 and didn't qualify?
Intelligent question, I must say. So look, what happens is when you get a score, your overall application score goes high if your academics are good, if your GMAT or GRE scores are good, which means that you give yourself a very good chance to appear for the interview, definitely, right? But if you think that that is the end of it, that is where the candidates falter. You have to be very clear of why you are coming to ISB. Most of the people who did not make it after scoring 760 were not clear as to what they want to do post ISB and what exactly is their motivation of coming into ISB. Now, it is very genuine for somebody to say that ISB has great infrastructure, it has got world-class faculty and all the stuff. But the fact is, guys, ISB knows about itself. It wants to know about you. And what is that thing that you want to extract out of those facilities that you get at ISB, right? So that is what the problem is. People think that the scores are high, the work is done, and that's where they falter. Please go for mock interviews if you can, because the mock interviews help you make your answers very succinct, crisp, and clear. Also, let's say if you want to include any data points, if you want to give any analogies from the workplace, showcasing the strengths and weaknesses that you have mentioned in your application, a mock interview will help you, because you cannot be framing answers sitting in front of the interview panel, right? You will absolutely not be able to, I should say, articulate all the points. And again, if you want to include some good words to ornamentalize your answers, definitely, again, the mock interviews help doing that. So please go for mock interviews, at least 3-4 of them, and that should see you into the interview round and into the class.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Before I jump to the next question, guys, go like this video. Literally 2 seconds. Like the video. And okay, thank you. Now I'm going to go to the next question. Are essays same for all rounds, or the essays change with every round?
So the essays remain same for the entire season. Be it round 1, 2, or 3. There'll be changes next year if somebody applies. He will see some kind of changes, but they do not change within the rounds.
Gotcha. All right. Next question. Round 1 versus round 2. What's the situation of scholarship chances? Please elaborate.
So you have got an equal opportunity for scholarships in any of the rounds. However, first of all, you don't apply to ISB and you don't choose the rounds thinking about the scholarships. You first apply into the round where you think that you have the best chance of making it to ISB. However, we say that if you think that your profile is so strong that you're going to fetch 100% merit scholarship, you target round 1. Because obviously, very clearly, the 100% scholarship seats will be lesser in number. And they might get filled in round 1. If not in round 1, then definitely in round 2. But just to contradict my own statement, last year, 2 people got 100% merit scholarship in round 3. So it's not something which is a writing on the wall. It's not an inscription in itself. But I mean, that's the kind of historical evidence that we have. But you don't apply thinking about the scholarships. You choose rounds when you are strong.
Makes sense. Alrighty. Next question. If you have an experience of just 2 years with a score of 660, what are your chances?
I saw a candidate with a 650 experience of 2 years who got an interview invite, and there are many who get like interview invites like that, and they also make it to the class. It's about how you propagate your profile and how clear you are, whether you are able to showcase all your strengths in the application and in the final interview. So I think you have got as good chances. It's just that you should have something else in your profile to talk about, and that should be good for you.
Makes sense. Okay. Next question. Will ISB be considering GMAT focused edition scores for round 2 and round 3 candidates?
Definitely, we will. We'll take both GMAT focus and conventional GMAT into consideration. Do not worry about that. Just try and do your best in whatever edition or section of GMAT that you're going for, and leave the rest to us.
Awesome. Okay, next question. How is campus choice evaluated? Also, how, if at all, are campuses different?
Okay, first of all, you get a chance to showcase your preference in the application form as to which campus you want to go in. But it is absolutely the prerogative of people like us where you go, whether it is Hyderabad or Mohali. Although I would like to say that there is hardly any difference across the two campuses, be it Hyderabad or Mohali. All the faculties who are there in Hyderabad go to Mohali and vice versa. There is a central admissions team, so people like us keep on moving. Most importantly, when the companies come for the final placements, they do not know which campus you're coming from. So for them, you are ISB students, even your certificates do not mention ISB Hyderabad or Mohali. So probably the only difference is the geographical difference you can think of. So as I say in one of my sessions that I like winters myself. So if you like to chill out in winters, you like a chilly weather, you go for Mohali. But again, that is not something in your hands.
Makes sense. Alrighty. Okay. Next question. What are the red flags in mentioning our weaknesses in essays? What type of weaknesses should we not mention?
Look, there are no particular weaknesses that you should not mention. But the fact is, whatever you are mentioning in your essay or application should be adding to your larger story of why you are wanting to come to ISB. For example, now let's say I have a weakness of probably not playing chess well, right? But will I be willing to mention that in my essay? Probably not. If it's not adding to my larger story. So all the weaknesses are good if you want to mention them, but how you are able to relate that weakness or strength that you have into why you are coming to ISB and how ISB is going to ornate your personality into becoming a better person or making a better person out of you. I think that is what it is.
Makes sense. Okay. Next question. Any suggestions on what kind of story to pick out of few to explain in our essays?
Okay, so I think the candidate must be asking about whether it can be a personal story or a professional story. It can be anything, honestly. It's about what kind of inferences you are extracting out of it and how you are actually connecting it with the other things that I already said. So we are not averse to having any kind of story. Only thing is that we cannot be frivolous about whatever stories we are telling, right? I also look at YLP essays just a little bit, and they are one of the most interesting essays, and sometimes they verge on the line of being frivolous. So you cannot say things which are below the belt. Please mind your language also, and rest of the things will be good. So we don't have any preference for professional or personal stories. They can be anything, and you can be gaining strength from any particular incident, be it your personal life or professional life.
Makes sense. Okay. Next question. There is an option for alumni to refer applicants. How is this evaluated with the application?
Okay, so ultimately it does not affect your application process or evaluation. So some alums, in fact, we used to have this thing a few years back. Even now, what alums do is they refer a few applicants to us. Now, what we can do with those applicants is that we can give them a call back and discuss about their profile and the strengths and weaknesses, which of course is not possible for us to do for all the applicants because they are in thousands. So that is some benefit which they can get, that somebody in the team can give them a call and can discuss their profile. I think that also gives them a lot of clarity.
Makes sense. Okay, next question. How should someone think of their long and short-term goals?
Okay, the short-term goal is something which we are trying to get, or we are trying to mention just after ISB. So that is your short-term goal, just 1 year after ISB. So it has to be a very direct goal kind of stuff, right? Similarly, a long-term goal is something which may not be directly related, but it can be related to your accomplishing your short-term goal, right? So you first decide your long-term goal, then you backtrack, then you decide what should be your short-term goal. Let's say you make it to ISB. Not everything is going to be metamorphosized in that 1 year. So what all changes can you make in that 1 year to achieve that short-term goal? Then what are the things that you need to do in the class? What are the specializations and what other stuff that you're going to do in the class? I think that is how you should plan your essay and your short-term and long-term goal.
Awesome. Okay. Next question. Do people with gaps in their career affect their application approval chances? What's the effect of gaps in career after graduation?
So there are a lot of people who apply with gaps in their applications, and we understand we all are humans. We do take gaps and sabbaticals for various reasons in life. I have met people who had 2 years of gaps in between. Some people, they took a gap for preparing for UPSC and other examinations. Some people take a gap to prepare for GMAT and GRE, and I'm not even exaggerating it, right? So we do not have any kind of, we are not having any detestable feeling towards anybody who has a gap in their application. You should be able to justify why that gap was taken, and if at all you learned anything out of it. I will give you a reference. I was in one of the sessions where a guy came to me and he said that he has been on bed rest. He had a medical condition for the last 2 years, and he's definitely going to apply because he's absolutely clear. So the thing that you can learn in those gaps can be qualitative as well as quantitative. It can be clarity of thought as well.
Awesome. Okay. Next question. Essays have been changed. Why is this change happening? And what type of candidates is ISB looking for this year?
So everywhere look for the same type of candidates, right? It has to be the candidates which are very clear, and they bring about something in the class. They have that fire, and they are pretty sure of what ISB is going to do in their careers and in their short-term and long-term goals. Essays keep on changing because we don't want the same kind of repetition to happen every year. Because if the same questions get permeated in the system for 5 years, everybody knows, and people go in and take the help of a lot many people framing those essays, and that is not something which brings a fresh air. So if you look at the essays intricately, the thing that we are trying to understand remains the same. It's just that the verbiage changes a little bit, and therefore you have to tweak, you have to think, and that is what we are encouraging the people to do. Just involve a bit of a critical thinking when you're writing those essays.
Makes sense. Okay. What profiles do people get from senior executive clubs?
Okay, so anybody who is applying to ISB and making it to the class with an experience of 8 years plus automatically gets into the senior executive club. Now, the placement team, or we call them the career advancement services team at ISB, they work separately with these senior executives to get in the kind of profiles and the companies which they desire. So there are many companies who come for very senior level roles. 550 plus ISB alumni are holding the top CEO and CXO level roles around the world. And these companies might look for senior people to adorn those roles. So they bestow those roles to the senior people, depending upon the kind of sectors they want to go.
All right, makes sense. Next question. What are the criteria for a scholarship consideration? Example of similar profiles, please.
Difficult to give examples of profiles because there is no particular profile which fits into the scheme of things of scholarship. But yes, there are various kind of scholarships that you can be a part of or you can apply. First, there is merit scholarship. So anybody who applies to ISB becomes a part of merit scholarship automatically. It simply means that your application score and your interview score combined into one gives you a merit score. If that score is high, that commensurate scholarship comes to you. Similarly, we have an e-pay scholarship for all those people who can prove that their family income is less than 18 lakhs. Similarly, we have a diversity scholarship for all the diverse profiles that you can think of, international diversity. There are almost 70 plus corporate scholarships which you can apply once you become a part of ISB. For example, if you are a female candidate, you can apply for a female diversity scholarship. You just have to write a 200-word essay suggesting why that scholarship should come to you. Similarly, there are scholarships for the sole earning members of the family, for the meritorious students, and a lot more. So those scholarships, for them, you have to write a 200-word essay suggesting why we should consider you for that scholarship.
Makes sense. Okay, and we do have a little bit of time, but I'll try to like sort of skim through the good questions and bring them up here.
Yes.
But yeah, okay. Next one. Does someone from a liberal arts educational background and instructional designing work experience count as diverse and have a chance?
Definitely they can. It also depends upon the kind of work experience that you bring in. Definitely they can be counted. Look, I think Prachi, I can see her name. So Prachi, what happens is whatever profile that you can think of, you will get 50 such applications at ISB. Right now, out of 50, maybe 5 get selected and the rest 45 do not get selected. I'm not scaring you saying that, but the ones who stand out in terms of the quality they bring in, the quality of work experience, the quality of clarity of thought, working into that sector, the knowledge of that sector which they bring in, that is what makes their application stand out. So it does not matter which sector you are coming from.
Makes sense. Okay. Can you elaborate in what scenario would admissions encourage writing the third essay? Any concrete examples?
Okay, so the third essay is a pretty important one, short-term and long-term goal, and it is a non-mandatory essay. And I would say that it's a kind of a trick question because if you're applying to ISB, we all need to have a short-term and long-term goal, without which I don't think we should be able to make it to the class. So if you are clear about your short-term and long-term goals, which I think you should be, I think go ahead. It's a very good real estate that is given to you to expound the kind of thoughts that you have for coming and joining ISB. Gives you some extra bounding points, I suppose. People always complain about lack of space. I think that's a golden opportunity. Just go ahead and explain yourself.
Makes sense. Okay, I'll go to the next question. I'm in the process of switching my citizenship. I know deferrals are exceptional. My question is, in case I'm not allowed to leave my country, can I ask for a deferral?
Yes, you can. Once you get your offer letters, you can definitely write to us at pgp@isb.edu, and the process team will consider your deferral for sure.
Okay. I quit my job in June this year, planning to apply in round 2, have been upskilling via a few online courses and preparing for the GMAT. What sort of impact will this break in employment have in my application?
None. If you can, as you're already saying that you are upskilling yourself, you can show that those skills in your application, then I think this gap is not going to affect you adversely at all.
Okay. We talked about how we should be clear on why we want to join ISB, but from the outside, we only have limited access to know about what ISB provides for a candidate. What can we do to know about ISB?
2-3 things. First of all, go on to the website, check the kind of facilities which ISB provides in terms of education, in terms of the clubs that we have, the faculty that we have. Also, a very good idea of knowing more about ISB is to get in touch with ISB alumni on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Get in touch with them. Start your application early. And if you have any questions, any apprehensions about any of the questions and what you need to write, please vet your essay. There are so many candidates who go to former alumni to get their essays vetted. I'm just giving you a hint, right? We can't do that for you because we are a part of the admissions team, but nobody stops you from going into and bumping into the ISB alums who are 15,000 plus numbers on LinkedIn.
Makes sense. Okay. During placements, do companies shortlist based on 10th and 12th graduation scores? 10th, 12th,
Okay.
and graduation scores, sorry.
Great. For working professionals, 10th and 12th is not something which the companies look at. Even in the admissions, the most important score is the graduation score, right? But for the final placements, 1 or 2 companies might look at it, but mostly you are sitting at ISB, it's your performance in ISB and the kind of interview which you actually end up giving. That is the most important thing which will work in your favor for the placements.
Gotcha. Does 6 years of experience go for senior executive placements or only 8 years or above? What's the experience of years that makes them go to senior executive placements?
Hey Pooja, you're in a hurry to go for senior executive placements, but the only people who go into senior executives club is people with 8 years plus of experience. So it's not that you are into any kind of a disadvantage by not being there, because once you are having that experience of 8 years plus, it actually makes it more interesting for you to answer as to why do we want to come and join a PGP now, because we consider that somebody who has 8 to 10 years of experience might already be at a scale where he does not know any second MBA or first MBA at all. So it becomes even more difficult for them to explain. So you don't want to go there. and you're not in any kind of a disadvantage, you can also get very good placements. In fact, the kind of increment which people see is mostly there in the range of 3 to 6 years, right? As far as the placement increments we are talking about. You can go on to ISB admissions page on YouTube and have a check on the CAS presentation there.
Awesome. All right, I just have one last question. This is actually for international applicants. Like, I'm an international student here in India, right? So if I ever want to go to ISB, what kind of advice would you give for an international student?
Okay, so I think the international students add to the diversity, the kind of eclectic experience that you add to the class is also something which can work for your advantage. And I think the amalgamation of ideas, that is what you bring into the class, and can work in your favor definitely. Also, just because somebody is an international applicant, they should not take it lightly, because the process again remains the same, right? And yes, that international diversity, just put it to your advantage, use it to your advantage. That do not be lackadaisical when you have an international diversity exposure behind you.
For sure. Well, this was great. Thank you so much, Ketan, for a lovely session. It was great having you here. And thank you guys for your questions. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, LB. Half an hour passes pretty quickly, but I'm sure some of the questions must have been answered for the candidates. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.